Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey Jason, accompanied by a full house today. Dylan Mel, John Pauline, Ben Mandel. Guys, how we doing?
Doing good.
We're living life.
Living like Larry.
Living like
Someone was going
Larry.
to say it. Now it's living like Leo, baby.
I think it's living like Brunson right now. King of the city.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Jalen Brunson is the true king of New York.
Second place is okay for him. Brunson will never be considered an NBA all-time great, so let's
Clutch player of the year.
Hey,
let's
maybe.
pump the brakes. When he becomes the greatest right-handed shooter of all time, we can talk.
He's not even right-handed.
Left-handed.
I mean, that was more like an Aaron Judge, greatest right-handed hitter of all time type of reference. That's the king of New York.
Brunson's
Agreed.
one more.
Brunson hasn't won anything.
Neither is
Brunson.
Judge.
Well, I will say this: Jalen Brunson just had 40 points in a playoff game against Boston. Aaron Judge has never had a playoff performance close to that equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
But Judge did go to a World Series.
Yeah, well, Brunson's got time. If Brunson wins the title, is he the king of New York?
If you win the
It's hard-
title as a
it's
New York
hard
Knick,
to-
if you
it's
win the
hard to
title
do
as a
that.
Knick, you are 100% the king of New York.
There you
Hey,
go,
will
Brunson.
knock down the Empire State Building to build a statue of Brunson.
There you go, Brunson.
It'll be
If
renamed
you want
the
to pass
Brunson
Aaron
State Building.
Judge as king of New York, all you have to do is win the title.
But then you got to
Get
start
to the
talking about him. Is
final.
he more of a king of New York than Derek Jeter?
Well, we got a lot more titles to go with.
But it's the Knicks. They're
Yeah,
starring.
winning as a Knick is different.
Winning as a Knick is as similar as winning as a Jet.
I mean, one can't be the equivalent of 5.
No, winning as a Jet is not even close to winning as a Knick because the Jets don't have the same kind of fan base. The Knicks are just
Yeah,
different.
because
man.
nobody likes the Nets.
They should just come back to Jersey. That's their true home. Guys, so let's talk a little Evan Longoria, guy that terrorized my childhood. I'm sure Dylan's as well.
He was on the cover of one of my favorite baseball video games of all time, so can't be mad at that.
Retiring, though. Spent a couple years in San Fran after the Rays kicked him to the curb.
Yeah.
He will be honored and retire a Ray. Would he be the Rays' first Hall of Famer? Like true Hall of Famer at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he has to because no
yeah.
one has stayed a Ray
Yeah.
long enough outside of him.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody. Took him to a World Series. Obviously, a fantastic hitter, really solid fielder. You
Well,
guys
he was-
remember the video of him catching the ball barehanded and saving that reporter's life?
Look,
Wasn't that
Longoria.
I thought that was
Longoria was
staged.
the third best third baseman in the league for a good stretch, arguably second or first at times, but he was consistently top 3 for about a 5-year stretch with David Wright and Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Like those guys were hands down the 3 best third basemen in baseball from like 2008, 2009 to about 2013.
Just to note real quick, Fred McGriff and Wade Boggs are the only other Hall of Fame inductees for the Rays,
Interesting.
according to Baseball Reference.
Yeah, Longoria, I mean, obviously, our age range here. Longoria is what we think of when we think of the Tampa Bay Rays. At least that's who I think of.
Not Delman Young.
No. I mean,
Carl
I
Crawford?
honestly think of
Hey,
Delman
right.
Young as a Tiger. I feel like he terrorized the Yankees when he was on the Tigers more so. So that's just where I remember him. David Price is another one for sure, but I think Longoria, if you said Tampa Bay Rays, name a player, Longoria would be who I'd say.
Longo,
David Price and then
Crawford,
Chris
Scott
Archer.
Kazmir.
Yeah. All I remember for David Price is Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit.
I remember him with the Tigers going 1/3 of an inning in the snow against the Yankees in an April day game.
Good
That was
times.
a fun one.
Never happen again. They would never.
And that's
let
what's
that
wrong with
happen again.
baseball.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Rob Manfred.
If they got soft, they don't play in the snow no more.
The
Where's
summer
your-
game.
Pretty soon we're all gonna have domes.
We need the Winter Classic, but baseball.
Baseball on ice.
Just send them out there in 2 feet of snow.
That's where they got it wrong. Instead of basketball, it should be like
That'd be
Base
and
key.
our 5th inside the park home run of the inning, as the players can't find the ball.
You gotta play with like those neon yellow ones.
Yeah,
Almost like a softball.
yeah.
But some other terrible decision making in baseball. The Pirates fired Derek Shelton, their manager, and the Rockies fired Bud Black, theirs. Is it these guys' fault for their team struggles?
look.
Fault, not necessarily, but the Rockies manager Black had to go. You can't be on pace to be the worst team ever in sports and not make some version of a change. You're not going to bring in talent. So I understand the move. You make a quick move trying not to be the worst team in MLB history. And the Pirates, it's ownership. You can't get rid of them, though. So changes are going to continue to be made.
The Bud Black had his job way too long for a team that did not have a ton of success. I don't know off the top of my head how long Bud Black was the manager of the Colorado
9 years.
Rockies. 9 years? Are you kidding me? That was longer than I thought. That's way too long for a franchise that has had zero success. I mean, I think
It's
a couple
not
of
his
wild
fault,
card
though. That's the
appearances.
thing.
Yeah,
Is it his fault? What was he given to work with?
he started with Nolan Arenado.
And he
I
won-
think he had LeMahieu at a point.
He also had a solid
Prime
pitching staff
LeMahieu.
at one point with John Gray. Kyle Freeland used to be good. Like this was a team that when he first was there did have talent. They've had some young guys that they, can't do anything with. Chris Bryant, despite even before the injuries, wasn't playing well. Guys go there and do worse. Hitters don't everybody hits at Coors Field, but everybody else seems to take advantage of the altitude except for Colorado. Like Bud Black needed to go. My only issue is the fact that you're
what is
making
Bud
this
Black's record as a Rocky, Ben?
again. I don't know off the top of my head.
The win percentage has to be below 40.
Like the guy,
The win percentage is above 40.
I was gonna say it's below 50, but look. This is a team that did not do anything for far too long. He kept his job way too long. Again, my issue with both of these firings isn't necessarily that they happened, but that they happen now. If you're going to pull the trigger this early in the season, why not do it at the end of last season? Because clearly you wanted to.
Yeah, I certainly agree there. At the end of the day, we could talk about these managers at length, but this is organizational issues at the end of the day, especially in Pittsburgh. I mean, Colorado had nothing to be excited about going into the year. We kind of all knew they were going to be bad. But for Pittsburgh, Skeens, Jones, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, Brian Hayes, like there is talent on this team, but ownership was unwilling to go all in on any talent to build around this team, especially in a winnable NL Central, especially before the Cubs got Kyle Tucker. There was no clear favorite in this division. It could have been the Pirates. They have the best pitcher, certainly in their division, perhaps in baseball, a young star player in O'Neal Cruz. The fact that they didn't get more talent for their team and their manager to work with that's the problem. But, they're going to shift blame and use managers as a scapegoat. And if I was a young manager looking to get a first-time gig, I'd pass on both of these jobs, honestly. I'd hold out for a better opportunity because how many shots do you get to prove yourself? And these two organizations aren't going to give you talent to work with.
Now, at what point does Major League Baseball step in to kind of shake up these organizations? Because these are two now who had, at least at one point, a pretty good foundation and have kind of squandered it. And like, when does Major League Baseball step in and tell Montfort and Nutting, like,
I got to be honest, the sad truth, probably never. Do you think Major League Baseball wants Paul Skeens to be a Pirate forever? Or do you think they want to see him in New York, LA, Houston, Boston, a huge market that's going to generate a ton of revenue? Think about how many Skeens jerseys would sell at each of those stops. Think about what you could market Skeens in a primetime game, whether it's he's pitching for the Dodgers against the Padres, he's pitching for the Red Sox against the Yankees, for the Phillies against the Braves. They would way rather him in that spot than Pittsburgh playing against the Cincinnati Reds. That's just the truth of the matter. For Pirates fans, I wish that wasn't the case, but the MLB isn't coming to save them here. They just have to wait for a massive baseball fan with a big wallet to take over their team and actually try and be competitive.
Yeah, but it's just tough to see because these fans deserve better. And if you're really trying to grow the game, you can't just shove the stars into the three.
I mean, there should be a salary cap minimum. I think we floated that idea on the pod multiple times.
Floor is what you're saying.
Yeah, like you should have to spend a minimum amount of money.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's not, specifically targeting the Pirates, the Rockies. There's a lot of teams that are just kind of willing to take an off year. And then if you're the Rockies, it turns into an off decade.
That's interesting you bring that up too. What were you saying, John?
I was going to say, I feel like most teams, like an off year is not a huge deal, but I mean, like the Rockies have been bad for a while. Like last playoff one was 2007. It was the last time they went to the World Series also. And their last playoff appearance was like 2018.
My point. So why did Bud Black have a job for that long?
But he was 9 years. 2018, he took him to the playoffs. That was the last. He didn't win a playoff game.
Took him to the playoffs once.
They went to the playoffs in 2018.
In 9 years.
He won 91 games that year.
It was an exit in the first round of the wild card game that they lost to Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
In 2015, I think all of us were in high school.
2018 is
2018.
They won. They got into the wild card round, and then they got swept by the Brewers in the NL Division Series.
Which you're talking about?
2018, right? The Rockies.
I'm pretty sure they lost to the Cardinals in the wild card game.
Yeah, they won. They won.
They won that game?
Yeah, because they played the Brewers.
Either way,
and then
the guy did not deserve to have his job for 7 years after that being his only.
If his shining career achievements 2018, I think
it's also not like this was Bud Black's first job. I'm pretty sure he was horrible with San Diego.
He spent 9 years in San Diego too.
Yeah, come on.
His managerial win-loss record is 44.1% win for the Rockies. 40, which is actually higher than I expected, to be honest.
Do you think
that's because they didn't let him finish out this year?
The thing is, do you think another manager would have had a better winning record with the Rockies team?
No.
I don't think that's necessarily a definitive no.
I mean, maybe a few, maybe a few more.
Don't get me wrong. I like in terms of blame pie, 80% goes to the organization. But when you have a team that's just this bad, as bad as the Rockies are right now, clearly you don't have any control of the clubhouse whatsoever, and they have lost all belief in you as a manager. I mean, at the end of the day, these are still major leaguers. Like, they're about to make last year's White Sox look like a playoff team.
It's bad. But who's the next manager now that we talked about Shelton and Black, a lot on Black? Who's the next ones to go? What managers in your minds are on the hot seat now that have the most realistic chance to get canned? I can think of two off the top of my head. And that's Brandon Hyde and Kevin Cash of the Orioles and Rays.
Yeah, I certainly agree with Hyde. The Rays don't ever want to spend money, so I can't imagine they'd want to pay out somebody's contract while also paying somebody else's. So if I had to guess, they would be an off-season firing. But yeah, I agree with Hyde, man. The Orioles, 15-24, 9 games below 500. They are really, really bad. Minus 65 run differential, tied for the worst in the AL with the Los Angeles Angels. And this is a team that people had World Series expectations for, and they are absolute garbage this year. And you got to think it's not the talent.
Look,
I mean,
when it comes to prospects, you're never going to miss on all of them, but you're also not going to hit on all of them. And I think that people need to realize that with Baltimore. Yes, this team is completely homegrown, but this is also a team full of players that, have a lot of question marks for their futures. They're not big sample sizes. They let one of their best bats last year walk in Santander, and I'm not saying they should have re-signed him, but 100%, I'm glad you brought up Hyde. He is the guy. This is a team that's massively underachieving, and while, yes, management didn't do anything to help their pitching, the bats aren't doing what they need to do. And
Yeah.
I think it's time I think Baltimore needs a new voice in the locker room. It happens a lot with young teams where you have a guy kind of groom them and get them ready, and then you need someone else to take them over the top. Low key, this would be a good Buck Showalter spot.
I think that bridge has been burned.
100% has. I'm just saying this is where you bring in a guy like Buck.
Yeah, I do also want to point some of the blame at the front office as well. They let Corbin Burns go, and they brought in no pitching here. They've allowed 212 runs as a team this season. Again, second most in the AL. That is a massive problem. The Orioles, it's a lot of young players, and the offense is going to be hit or miss at times as these guys find themselves in the league, and you did them no favors by pairing them with one of the worst pitching staffs in the AL and, frankly, in baseball.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but Baltimore is definitely in a spot that I don't think anybody would have, predicted that they would be in. But let's talk some teams right now. John, can you start us off with the Phillies? 5-1 since we spoke last week. They swept the Rays, went 2-1 versus Cleveland.
Yep.
Pretty good right now in Philly.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean, you have Schwarber with I think 40. He has a 47 game on base streak going.
47 games.
47 games, stretching back to like last season.
Tied Aaron Judge for the lead in home runs at 14.
Yeah.
Schwarber's gotten on base every game this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's doing good. Like, he's one of these, like, I wish they would get a contract extension going, or because I feel like he is a must sign for them. Like, you can let Bohm go, you can let Castellanos go next year, but like I feel like
we could let Bohm go all of a sudden.
they have Aiden Miller. They have another Otto Kemp.
I want to rewind to something you said. You said you could let Castellanos go. Don't get me wrong. I understand that if you had to pick one between Schwarber and Castellanos, you'd pick Schwarber. But Castellanos is batting 280 with 21 RBIs this year. Like, he's not a slouch.
I'm not saying he's
having a better year than Bryce Harper.
I'm just saying with the talent they have coming up through their system, and then like if it's imperative that they can only sign one out of those three, like re-sign, it's Schwarber.
Oh, easily.
Like realistically, like it would be nice to sign, Castellanos too and stuff. But like, if you had to pick one out of those three,
I agree with that sentiment.
That's like what I'm, because I am a big Castellanos fan. I mean, I'm a big Castellanos defender.
Yeah,
but it's just, Schwarber. I think he has that power. He's doing really well. I mean, he's probably the only one of the Phillies right now who's actually like playing really, really good. Everyone else, like, not playing bad, but they're not playing like very good. And you're expecting more from Bryce Harper and like Trey Turner.
And JT. Trey Turner's had a really solid year. I mean, he's leading the team in batting average at 306 right now. Like, I know the last couple of days haven't been the best performances out of Trey, but we talked about this team at the beginning of the season, who was going to be their X factor. And I think across the board, we all said Trey Turner. He's producing at a high level right now.
We said Trey Turner and Harper because, like, you really need Harper to do stuff. And like,
if Harper could get back to Harper, this team's dangerous.
It is because they're starting pitching's doing fine now. I mean, you have Suarez, his second game. He didn't do great in his first game back, but second game, fantastic.
I mean, Wheeler, Luzardo, and Sanchez, That's
I
a
mean-
great first three in any
Yeah.
And then you
playoff
throw
series.
in, if you
It's-
get anything out of Nola or Suarez in the back end, I mean, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have Walker for long relief in the bullpen, which helps a ton, and
Yeah,
Painter, it helps a ton. He's so like
You want to get rid of him last week?
Hmm?
You were looking to move him last week.
I want him to go back in the bullpen. I want him to go in the bullpen.
Yeah,
Walker.
he's moving them to the
To
bullpen.
the bullpen. That's where he does. He'll do better there. And then Painter should be coming up at some time this season. So it's like they're good.
How many years in a row are Phillies fans saying Painter should be coming
He's
up?
fine.
I
Like
was
he's
I've been
pitching
here
now.
Painter
He's
for
hurt.
2 years.
He had Tommy John. He's gonna come up this year.
Andrew Painter is the Phillies Jason
He will
Dominguez,
be.
huh?
Mm.
He'll be up. He'll be
Look,
up.
I
But
think
I still don't like the
the-
relief pitching as a whole.
The National League being so stacked is what makes you feel uneasy. But the Phillies have had a terrific stretch. I mean, they're still 7-3 in their last 10. 24-17 is nothing to sneeze at. You're only 2.5 out of the division, but you're also only 1.5 games of being out of a playoff spot. So I get it. This is a gauntlet in the National League this year.
Luckily, it's still early though.
It is, but I don't trust their relief pitching at all, especially like just closing wise.
We'll have to see. Ben, Mets are 3-2 since the last episode. They went 1-1 since we last spoke about it in Arizona. Then they took a series versus the Cubs, 2-1 versus them. The Mets seem to be treading water in a way right now, the last week
Yeah.
or so.
Right now, they're not doing too much domination of series. Like, they're either splitting or winning those series, but that's what you need to do. Just keep finding ways to win games, win series, and the pitching continues to be the best in baseball. Obviously, it's not sustainable with the guys they have. I do not expect Griffin Canning to continue doing this, but he leads the team in ERA. I believe that was his start against the Cubs was his 6th straight start of 5 innings or more and 1 or fewer runs. The guy has been a revelation. He's been fantastic. I know I mentioned it last time I was on. I'm going to continue mentioning it because he has just been so good. Tied for the team lead in wins. Who's tied with him? Clay Holmes, who also leads the team in WHIP. It's really just been a fantastic job by the starting pitching. I have sung the praises of Jeremy Hefner all year long in the Mets pitching lab. Told you guys that David Stearns knows how to pluck diamonds out of the rough. And look, this is a great job. You're only going to get more guys back with Minaya and Montas coming back eventually. We've already seen the first wave of reinforcements come in with McNeil and Alvarez providing a big spark to the lineup. I mean, Alvarez came back, hit a home run. The guy's been raking. He just feels like a hit machine whenever you need one. That's been big. McNeil, another guy. The power seems to be there. McNeil doesn't have to be a key cog in the lineup, so he's just going out there, getting his base hits. Really just everything feels good because Juan Soto is going to get hot. You know that this is going to happen. And by the way, all this talk about the season Alonso's having, Francisco Lindor has done nothing but continue doing what he did down the stretch last year. Another go-ahead home run on Sunday against the Cubs. On top of that, he has 4 leadoff home runs this year. The guy's
Will
an
this be
animal.
his first All-Star appearance as a Met?
Lindor has to be 100%. But to be honest with you, I think he's the MVP of this team. I know Alonso has been great, but Lindor is the guy. And I just cannot wait to see what happens when Soto starts clicking and you can get Alonso, Soto, and Lindor all on fire at once.
I mean, 2 things. One, it's now May 12th as we record this. We shouldn't be saying when Soto gets clicking at this point.
But
should have been
Soto's not
clicking.
playing bad baseball. That's the thing. It's not like he's been horrendous.
But
I'm
because
saying
of the
once Soto
contract-
starts doing what he's supposed to do.
But because of the contract, it can't be in like a vacuum of, he's playing fine. He needs to be doing what Alonso and Lindor are
That's
doing.
not true.
You
It's
know-
not
you
my
know,
money.
I-
I don't care what Soto does. I'm happy he's in the lineup.
I think the thing with Soto too that so many people are getting caught on is the batting average, and the batting average definitely needs some work. 252 is not what
Yeah,
you're
but
paying him
that's,
for,
you know
but his
what?
on
It
base
is what it is.
percentage still 372, still slugging at a 465, an 837 OPS, and a 1.5 WAR. Some of those are better than Lindor, some are worse, but at the end of the day, he is getting on base and he is giving you offensive production. Just because it's not coming in the form of batting average doesn't mean he's not producing. He is a
He also
threat in
has
that
8
lineup.
home runs, by the way. He's only one off of the team lead.
Yeah.
Nimmo, Soto, Lindor, and Alonso all have 8 or 9 home runs. So they're spreading the wealth. It's not like Soto's not playing baseball right now. This
That's
isn't
not
like
what
how
I'm saying.
Lindor started his Mets career, where he was hovering the Mendoza line and hitting for absolutely no power.
No, Soto's playing good baseball, but if he gets up to that great elite level, the team
And
in the
that's
Mets that's
exactly
already the
what I'm
best in
saying.
baseball is going to
That's
get even better.
exactly what I'm saying, Dylan. Thank you. Appreciate
All
you.
I'm saying is it should have happened already. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up about Ben's point, he had me on everything. I was agreeing with everything up until he brought up Montas as a reinforcement.
We can't just talk
Are we-
about Montas every week.
Why are we beating this drum over and over? The Mets will be better off if Montas never pitches an inning for
This
them.
has to be the #1 podcast for Frankie Montas talk in the world.
Look,
If
no one
Frankie
brings
Montas
him up.
has no haters, that
Corey's
means
the
I'm
one who
dead.
keeps bringing him back.
You
Guess
brought
what?
him up
He
as
is
a
hurt and
reinforcement.
coming back. Stay mad, Corey. Stay mad.
Yes, I'm just as mad as I am that DJ LeMahieu's coming back. Some things are better left in the past. Just kill it and let the boy die.
Every single guy,
Man,
Corey
when
has
Frankie
said
Montas
is
has
better
6
off
shutout innings in a
not
playoff
playing
game.
for the Mets. Every time Corey sits there and tries to bash a pitcher, the Mets bring up through this pitching lab and resurrect their career. He bashes him. Guess what? Montas is going to go out there and be phenomenal. There's a
Who else
reason they
did I
brought him in.
bash?
They saw something. Mendoza knew what they can do.
Quintana. You bashed
Wait for it,
Quintana.
man.
Well, and I stand by no matter what his numbers are that I was right.
You weren't.
In my mind, I'm right about Quintana.
Okay.
And I never bashed Severino. I was always a big Sevy supporter. So I want to make that on the record. I supported Sevy.
What's the one name of veteran pitcher that the Mets brought in under this current regime that has been horrible? Just an absolute waste of a signing.
Frankie Montas.
No, that hasn't gotten there yet. Get another guy prior to this season. Quintana wasn't. He was their best pitcher in 23.
But I don't like Quintana, so I'm not going to give him any credit.
He wasn't the best guy in 23. He's the best guy behind Senga in 23. But still, you cannot like him. Still wasn't a bad signing. It's not like they gave him big money.
No, but I think they could have done better.
Okay.
But anyway, let's move on to another team treading water that aggravates me probably more than Frankie Montas and the Mets. Dylan, Yanks are 4-1 since last episode.
Yep.
2-0 versus San Diego, 2-1 versus the A's out in Sacramento. The Martian has landed.
Yeah, the lineup has been fantastic. And now to have Jason Dominguez producing at a high level, for some reason, Aaron Boone for the last 2 weeks has insisted on going with Cody Bellinger over Jason Dominguez. And I simply can't understand it because Cody Bellinger's not hitting the baseball and Jason Dominguez is absolutely crushing the baseball, but I digress on that point. Dominguez batting .250 now with 5 homers on the year, kind of limited opportunities, like I mentioned, thanks to the managerial tactics of Aaron Boone. But I think that the lineup is World Series caliber. They have the best run differential in baseball right now. And while the pitching's been okay, it's because the lineup is producing at a very high level. They have the top 2 batting average leaders in baseball in Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's, if it wasn't for Judge just being unworldly, you could argue he's having close to an MVP caliber year. But instead, Aaron Judge is having what could be remembered as the greatest season in MLB history, and I'm not over exaggerating. He's batting .409 with a .494 OBP, a 1.27 OPS, and the guy's already got a 3.4 WAR on the season. So you just can't top what he's doing. And for pitching, Max Fried has been the ace that they needed him to be. They are undefeated when he starts. He's 6-0 with a 1.05 ERA. I maintain that the team needs one more starter to be a true World Series contender because of the loss of Garrett Cole. But after losing Juan Soto, after losing the World Series and having some question marks about what this team was going to be coming into this year, the whole Devin Williams situation where he is now the setup guy, you can't ask to be in a much better spot than the Yankees are.
Definitely much better than I, ever expected them, to be honest. But, taking away Judge, taking away Fried, Trent Grisham, Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, you have guys stepping up that, or a lot of, people's concern coming in. What did Goldschmidt have left? Was the early part of last year what Goldschmidt is now as he's in his late 30s? Or was that second half resurgence him getting back to form? What could we see out of Ben Rice? Trent Grisham was always a fourth outfielder, and now at 27, 28 years old, he's Trent Bonds.
Yeah, he's breaking out right now, and he's having just a monster year. His production, and this isn't, more Mets Soto talk, but his production is filling the hole that Juan Soto left, quite frankly. And I never thought I'd be able to say that about Trent Grisham coming into this year, but the guy has been an absolute hero for this team at times. That 2-run homer versus the Padres to make it a game.
Yankees traded Michael King to the Padres for Trent Grisham at this point.
I mean, I'm not going to hold that long because a season of Soto that did get us to a World Series.
No, but it's just funny to think about it that way.
But Trent Grisham's producing at a very high level. And honestly, I wonder if Bellinger is a guy that the team looks to unload to potentially get a pitcher, an expiring contract for a team if they're potentially looking to move off of some money, because you have a very crowded outfield. Stanton coming back, you're not going to be able to DH anybody. Grisham and Dominguez, the way they're swinging the bat, they need to be out there. It'd be real easy to get a fourth outfielder. You could play Oswaldo Cabrera if you need to. Judge showed last year you could play some center.
Just as we speak, Trent Grisham just did hit a home run, so
of course he did. It's it's possible that Bellinger's off this team and Trent Grisham is batting leadoff for the Yankees playoff roster, which, how bizarre.
Very bizarre. And a point on Judge, the difference between Judge's WAR and second place Bobby Witt is the difference between Bobby Witt and number 20 Marcelo Zuna of the Braves. So It's pretty crazy to think of it that way. That Judge is on pace for, I think it was a 14 WAR season.
Yeah, he's on pace for the best season a hitter has ever had.
It's it's just fun to watch, and I know he's not going to hit 400 all year.
No, there'll be a cold stretch, but he's going to hit over 300. He's going to hit 50 plus home runs. He's going to have 115, 120 plus RBIs. He's going to win his third AL MVP, and he's going to lead his team to the postseason in a year that people doubted after Soto left and the Garrett Cole Tommy John surgery, if the Yankees were even a playoff caliber team. And again, they're one move away from being World Series contenders yet again.
And I'll certainly admit that I was one of those people that had my doubts just because they lost so much in losing Soto, losing Cole to injury, not really having that identity outside of Judge.
Stanton not being available at the beginning of the year. You wondered where some power was going to be in this lineup without Soto, without Stanton. And like you mentioned, Grisham, Rice, we see Dominguez starting to get some pop now. The team has rallied, and this is what we talked about in a sense of you lose Soto, you don't pay that money. You have more money to fill out a roster. Goldschmidt, Fried, these guys are producing. Devin Williams had his struggles, but as a setup guy, he's been really solid for the Yankees. I don't mind flip-flopping him and Weaver. At the end of the day, I just want those two in the last two innings and get 6 outs.
It's been a wild ride. It's going to continue to be so, the ups and the downs. what stinks, and this doesn't just go for the Yankees, it goes for the Mets and the Phillies. It's slim pickings on the trade market and the free agency market even after this year.
Yeah,
Sandy Alcantara is, a name that a lot of people talked about as a starting pitcher, but he
he has
seems to
been
be
bad.
really washed. He seems to have really been bad. And he's been tied to the Yankees and the Mets as a trade option. He's somebody who I don't even know if I'd really even want to consider at this point.
Yeah,
Andrew Heaney's being touted as, the best lefty pitcher by MLB Network. I don't know if I want to go down that road again as the Yankees. There's just
no.
not a lot out there.
I
And
think
it's
some teams
really
will
tough.
start to fall off and emerge. I think a team to watch is the Athletics. Could the Yankees perhaps bring back a Severino? I know he's on a longer deal, but is that a guy that they could make a push for? I don't think that they ended on terrible terms. Could they perhaps go to the Milwaukee Brewers if they start to lose some games? Woodruff, obviously, we're still awaiting that return there, but a Freddie Peralta isn't a guy that I would be against going after. Do they try and bring back a Nestor Cortez? I just think they need another arm. Does it have to be the number two? Not necessarily. Rodon's been pitching pretty well. You're going to get Luis Heel back, but I just think that they're still an arm away. Sonny Gray as well, another name to keep an eye out for. I don't know
I don't
if
think he can handle it.
I don't know if that's a name that we want to go back down that road, but it's a guy who could potentially be available.
Now, moving on to our studs and duds, another Yankee retread as we've been talking about. My stud, Nathan Eovaldi, a guy who has been one of my favorite pitchers going back to his Marlins and Dodgers days. He went 2-0 in his 2 games started. That's 13 innings pitched, a .69 ERA. Gave up 7 hits, only 1 earned run in the 13 innings, 14 strikeouts, 2 walks. Hitters are hitting 156 against him. A dominant week for a pitcher who's really aged well. He was a Tony Gonsolin type, I would say, early on in his career. Somebody who was just the back end of the Dodgers, kind of buried. And then now he's kind of coming to his own. Once he got to the Yankees, he was good, not great. Red Sox, he was great. Now at the Rangers, he's been outstanding, an ace caliber pitcher. Now my dud, also former Yankee Alex Verdugo with the Braves. 6 games, he's got 1 hit and 24 at bats. 5 strikeouts, no RBIs, 1 hit. He's hitting .042 with a 122 OPS. Just putrid stuff from Verdugo. And it's a shock that any team had him as a starting player in a World Series lineup.
Yeah, I like the dig there. My stud is Shohei Ohtani. One of the 2 best players in baseball. Certainly looked like it over the last week. He was, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 walks. He was getting on base at will. He was just hitting everything in clutch time against the Miami Marlins. I was able to watch those games live. Ohtani is just an absolute freak. My dud. This was a very fun game. Bradley Blaylock. If you're asking yourself, who is that? That is the starting pitcher for the 6-33 Colorado Rockies, who lost in that 21-0 beatdown from the Padres. In that game, Blaylock went 3 2/3 innings pitched, gave up 13 hits, 12 earned runs, only had 1 strikeout and 2 walks. Have yourself a day. You lost a game at a football score. I was seeing tweets that Fernando Tatis was 21 of 27 for 386 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game versus the Rockies.
Yeah, for me, my stud, I'm going with Ryan McMahon. Not a lot of bright spots for the Colorado Rockies, but McMahon is one of them. He's the cornerstone, the only one really of this Colorado Rockies franchise at this point. Over the last 7 games, he was able to hit .455, a 1.526 OPS, but just 4 RBIs because Colorado doesn't have anybody else who can get on base for him. Guy almost hit 500. Didn't matter. Rockies on pace to be the worst team ever. My dud, it's going to be Ozzie Albies. And for a Braves team that was really hoping to get something out of him, the guy had just a 133 OPS this week, 1 hit in 28 at bats. He did walk twice, but 7 strikeouts, a .036 batting average. Tough week for Ozzy Albies.
My stud this week is going to be Freddie Freeman. Went 14 for 28, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, batting 500, OBP 500, slugging 1,000. That's crazy. Like you're going up, and half the time you're hitting the ball.
Yeah.
More than you ask. I mean,
Freeman, I saw a clip of a podcast where these Dodgers fans were asking, when Freeman goes into the Hall of Fame, will it be as a Brave or as a Dodger? Thought
he's
to
just been
myself,
good everywhere.
12 seasons. Not enough to be a Brave, I guess.
Now, my dud is to be a Pittsburgh Pirate, Brian Reynolds. He went 2 for 29. Granted, one of those hit was a home run. He's 3 RBIs, but 10 strikeouts, batting .69, 100 OBP, 172 slugging. And he was supposed to be one of their better players. So they're just not doing good, the Pirates on a whole. Like, it just feels like they have nobody.
Feels like they need to fire their manager.
It feels like they needed to make some moves during free agency, and they didn't.
What's that?
Now, moment of the week for me, Padres defeated the Rockies 21-0. Sucks because I had a Rockies player to hit a home run in a parlay that game to pair with an Aaron Judge home run and a Kyle Stowers home run. Those two hit. Not a single player in the Rockies hit. But Padres pitcher Stephen Kolek in his second career start threw a complete game shutout, which is pretty cool, to be honest.
Yep.
But then again, it's the Rockies, so does it really count?
My moment of the week, as I'm sure the dedicated audience noticed, I was missing from last week's podcast. And if you're wondering, where was I? Picture this. Sunny Las Vegas, rooftop, stadium swim, in a pool, Diet Coke in hand, watching Trent Grisham hit a 2-run home run and the Yankees, JC Escara, walk it off in extra innings. And I will say this, I really questioned what watching sports on the West Coast was like. It is superior to East Coast sports watching.
Blasphemy.
No. I'm telling you, I thought the same thing. The game, the extra innings Yankees game, and it was pitch black dark in New York, ended at like 7:30. I was able to just go do other things, and I wasn't fighting to stay awake. I was enjoying the whole game.
Yankees are on a
because you
West
didn't
Coast
have to
trip right now.
work. So you got to watch the games. You didn't have to work.
But
If you had
it
to
was
work on the
but
West
it,
Coast, you would
no
have missed the whole thing.
no I wouldn't have. It ended at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, you get
I
out of
don't
work
believe-
at 5, and you get that hour commute home from Los Angeles.
Whoa. Nobody said I had to live in LA in this situation. I was in Vegas and I work from home. Thank you.
I don't know. The Yankees are on that West Coast trip right now. 9:40 p.m. start tonight. You're telling me watching these West Coast trips where the games end, around midnight, after midnight, that isn't what it's all about? You're saying that's not real ball watching?
Say, that's a night of sports right there, buddy. You
I
guys
mean-
got to
I
find
mean-
something to watch after 10 o'clock out there.
I mean,
This is Knicks first, then the Yankees, like back to back.
I listen. I'm just telling you. I enjoyed it better out there.
Well, my moment of the week, today, actually, Monday, the Mets Pirates, Paul Skeens coming to town, Livy Dunn coming to town. So what do the Mets do? We're going to bring in all the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models and have them throw out the first pitch. What a move. The Mets
All right,
always
I'm back in on
find,
East Coast.
they find the perfect thing for each matchup. Love to see it. The Mets continue to market properly.
Gimmick.
My moment of the week is the Phillies sweeping the Rays. And they had a comeback win to complete the sweep. They were down 5-1 going to the top of the 8th. Bryson Stott hits a 3-run homer. They score a run in the 9th to tie it up 5-5. Go up 7-5 in the 10th inning, and then hold on to win at 7-6. So
Great start.
Great
Stop.
stop.
one of my me and him share a birthday. Bryson Stott.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball is doing something a little different this year in their never-ending quest to grow the sport. 99% of the times they try to do that, they just completely botch the idea. They don't know what the people want. This might be that 1% that is actually a success. Rivalry week, you have a bunch of the teams that are, I guess, local to each other, in the same area, playing against each other. So you have the White Sox, Cubs, Guardians, Reds, Pirates, Phillies, Nationals, Orioles, Yankees, Mets, Rays, Marlins, Cardinals, Royals, Astros, Rangers, Twins, Brewers, Angels, Dodgers, A's, Giants, all playing each other. A couple stragglers out there that I didn't mention. But what do you guys make of this whole rivalry week, and which of these matchups, I guess, as our weekly series highlight for this, very special week, really stands out to you as something interesting?
I mean,
Yeah.
no, you go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of great games coming up this weekend, and I'm excited that baseball finally did this because it almost has a nostalgic interleague feel. It's not like 15 years ago, well, I guess we're pushing 20 years ago at this point, where interleague play was just a 4-week period in June. And that's when you saw interleague play happen. So it does have that nostalgic feel. I think 4 of the series happening this weekend are non-interleague. The rest are interleague. And then seeing it as, you have the Battle of the Beltway with the Nationals and Orioles. That's always an exciting one. You have the Subway Series. You have the Battle of Chicago there. There's just so many. The Battle of Florida between Tampa and Miami. Battle of Pennsylvania with Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That one's not interleague, but still, just having these regional rivalry games and having them all line up like this, I like it because I think it brings attention to a lot of matchups that you don't necessarily think of so much like that, especially Astros Rangers, because we see that one quite a bit with them
Yeah.
being in division.
No, I'm super excited for Astros Rangers because Seattle actually showing up. So this division is actually very competitive right now. Of course, 3 of the 4 people on this podcast, our teams are playing each other in terms of Mets, Yankees. Can't miss that. Athletics, Giants, sneaky one that I'm interested in. The Athletics actually been a solid team this year, but they'll be coming off of a series versus the Dodgers, so they might be beat up a little bit, but this is going to be a really fun week for baseball, and I agree with Corey. This was one of the 1% ideas.
It's rare, but broken clock, right? What were you going to say, John?
No, I was just I always like when the 2 Pennsylvania teams play, whether it be like the Steelers, Eagles, Flyers, Penguins, Pirates, Phillies.
They got rid of the legendary
just...
scoreboard, though.
I know, no more poop games. I hate the new scoreboard, by the way. It's void of all personality.
Isn't that the worst when they try to just tweak things for no reason?
They need to make everything minimalistic.
They were tired of poop.
It's terrible.
One of the things that everybody looked forward to. Next thing you're going to tell me is they're going to get rid of the ass hats in the AL West. It's really taking out the joy in this sport. But that's going to do it here for us. Rivalry week coming up. Yankees, Mets. Ben and I might kill each other. Might not. Who knows?
And Frankie Montas is coming back for the Mets to face his former team, the Yankees, as this series is 1-1.
Might jump off a building if he pitches well against us, but he's not going to pitch. He's not going to be back. So I'll have to wait till the next time we meet up, which I think is in July. But that'll do it here for us. Ben Mandel, John Pauline, Dylan Mel, Corey Jason, signing off.